been at Gatwick for almost 14 years, and I can probably count on, maybe one hand, people that I would actually see outside of work. Which, when you think about, you've been in the same base. Like, if I'd been in an office for 14 years and I've only got 3 friends, that's quite sad. But that's just the nature.
It's very sad. Hey, and welcome to this episode of Aiming Point. I'm Aaron, Airbus A380 pilot based in the Middle East.
Hi everyone, I'm Michelle, A320 pilot based in the UK.
And hi everyone, I'm Anthony, 320 pilot based in Nice, France.
Nice. So, Anthony, we've got you back.
Got you back.
Yes, I am back. It's been a bit of a crazy time, but I'm back. Sorry, I missed out
what's
on
been going on?
What's been going on? Been really busy working, not so much flying, but working. And now places as well, so we have to move all our stuff out there. First up to taking most of our time, so yeah.
Life admin stuff.
Exactly, absolutely. Which is a great introduction, I think, to one of the topics we want to talk about today.
That's actually a good point. Very good point.
True.
Yeah.
It's very, very true. Very true.
Because we were going to have a look at base relocating, where you're going to live when you become a pilot, because you're not always going to be where you want to be. So yeah, actually, I think you'll definitely have a lot of insight into
absolutely.
that.
It's more personal life than purely technical today, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, definitely.
That's true.
Yeah. What about you, Michelle?
So I have been spending a lot of time in the sim, doing lots of training in the sim. I did manage to fly on Saturday, which was nice. So it was just a nice full sector. I went to Zurich and then Isle of Man. But it was one of those days in the UK that was just a perfect day to fly. So calm winds, clear skies, and it was just lovely. And then obviously the next day it was cloudy and raining, but I was in the sim, so that was fine. But yeah, lovely day to fly, and actually really nice to be up in the sky again, remembering all the buttons to press that I don't have to press in the sim. But otherwise, just busy in the sim, busy at home. But we're getting there. We're making it through the week slowly. And then I'm back to work.
Do you feel like you've got like a schedule now? You're kind of back to not normal because it's different now, but is it like a bit more, I don't know, getting back to normal, a little bit more, or whatever like normal is now, the new normal?
A bit more of a routine. There's the work-life balance still needs a little bit of work, but I think, between me and Brendan and his shift work and the little one at nursery, I think we're slowly getting there. There's a lot of behind-the-scenes admin logistics that take place, but I mean, that's parent working life. And as a shift worker, it just adds an extra little layer, but we're getting there. It's just like one day at a time, remembering what time do I need to be awake tomorrow? What time do I need to leave for work? And then the rest will come. And is my uniform clean?
Yeah.
That's one thing I need to do.
Yeah, that's fair. Is it the same for you, Anthony? Are you getting kind of normal now?
Yeah, for me, I got a chance of having more of a routine, so my hours are a bit more fixed generally. So I tend to fly less than you guys. So, the flying is once every while, and it's a bit of the highlight of the week usually. So that's quite nice. It breaks up a little bit the routine because as we are pilots as well, we're used to the shift works, and it needs a bit of time to get used to normal 9 to 5, let's say, hours. So sometimes it's quite nice to have the morning off and then having to fly in the afternoon or evening, like for example myself today. So I quite look forward to that because I had the morning free, which is something quite normal for a pilot generally, because we usually either work mornings or afternoons if we're in the short haul / medium haul world. But it's something when you work 9 to 5 you don't really get anymore as easily. So it's just been enjoyable this morning.
That's true.
So yeah.
And what about you, Aaron?
That's good.
Where you been?
That's good.
What you been doing?
Nice. Last place I went was Manchester. So actually was the study UK as well. I flew the weekend. So nice. couldn't believe it.
It does happen.
Sunny skies.
It does happen.
It was at 18 degrees. I was like, yeah, this is the UK I love. Before that, I've been in the sim a lot. Was it this month? I think I had my annual check. And then also I've been sim support for a couple of guys as well. So yeah, it's been interesting. It's quite nice to go into the sim and see different things and work with different people. Yeah, it's always good learning experience. So
of course, well, nice.
Yeah, be pretty chill.
Where's your next trip to?
Yeah. So tonight I am going to Bangkok.
Oh, nice. Oh, that's just a short hop though. That's not even far.
Oh, love it. I've been bidding for Bangkok for, like, to be honest, it's always on my preference. Like, even if it's at the bottom, it's always on the list because good food, cheap food, and massage.
Yeah. That's,
you really know how to live. There you go.
Yeah.
Listen, massage. Easily gonna have at least 2 massages in the 36 hours I'm there.
And it's like a 7-hour flight?
Arrival massage and a departure massage.
Yeah, not exactly. 100%. Just going to land, get changed, massage, dinner, get up in the morning, another massage, and then maybe sneak in another one before we leave and then leave it. So who knows?
Nice.
I've been working hard. I've been playing a lot of basketball lately, so my body is
your bones need it.
Something.
That's it.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. So I guess we should jump into this episode's topic. So we were trying to work out what we should speak about this week, and we thought quite a big thing within aviation and as a whole is where you're based. It's always a really big question when you're first starting out, where am I going to be based? And also once you're in a company, is that okay? Can I move bases? What's the process? Or if I move into a new company, again, where am I going to be based? And am I going to be away from family? Can I be close to family? Am I going to have to commute? So, yeah, I guess it's a good topic to kind of dig into and also see our experiences as well.
What is actually a base? What does that mean? Because it's a term very much flight crew or cabin crew oriented. I guess if we were to try to define it, it's basically where you would start. Where is your normal start of the day? Is the airport where you normally start your day from, and the airport you link to officially on your contract. That is, I think, the best definition out of it. It doesn't mean it's the airport you're going to end up your day, because I know some airlines, you end up flying the whole day and then you end up somewhere else, spend the night in the hotel. But it's going to be the airport you go back to at the end of your block, basically, of your working days.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And generally, your work contract depends on where you're based. So that's generally the case. Is if you've got a base in France, you will have a French working contract, for example.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah. And they can be very different as well, right? A company that operates in different countries, whether it be in Europe or wherever, they the contracts could look very different. So doing the exact same job in a UK base may compensation-wise be very different from the same job in an Italian base or in a French base.
Because it's all local laws, local employment rules, those kind of things that they have to take into account. So, again, something to... If you do have the flexibility of working in UK and Europe, again, that might be something that might sway your decision one way or another.
Yeah,
and even worldwide, I mean, there will be, you can do the exact same job. That's the thing. You can do exactly the same job, just the different airplanes looking outside on the painting, and have various amount of money you get every month for it. So, and that's something you'll find on doing some of your research. There are websites available where you've got a rough figure of salary as well, which could help you choose a little bit where you want to start.
So I guess. Michelle, when you first joined the company, did you know where you were going to be based?
Yeah, I think within a couple of weeks of getting my start letter. Well, I think we had to put down some preferences of where we wanted to be based. I think we had to put down 3 preferences. There was no guarantee you were going to get any of them, but at least then they had some information about you. And I think within a couple of weeks of getting my start letter, I found out I was going to be based at Gatwick. So, I mean, that was quite straightforward for me. And I think Gatwick was my number one because I wanted to be based at, a big base, have lots of variety, have lots of routes. So yeah, I was happy. I was happy with that choice. I know that some people, I mean, it depends on the company, the timing that you start, where the spaces are for you. But I mean, they like to ask you just so that they've got a little bit of an idea. But I don't know if it always works out the way that you want it to. Yeah. And for me, it wasn't that far away from family, so that worked.
Yeah. I think that's a big factor, and maybe the most important factor is to see when you look at your company where you be working, is it expanding or not? Because I think that's the most critical question. Because when it's expanding, it's usually easier. The positions available a bit everywhere. There are multiple positions available. Whereas I think changing bases when a company is not performing as well as they expected or not really performing well, then it becomes really much more complicated and complex. And I think when we joined Airline, it was slightly different. We for us, it was more like, those are the bases. You are 5. You've got 5 bases. Choose between yourself. We'll be back in half an hour, and you tell us where we're going to be based. And
it was crazy.
It was, and then it was like Hunger Games of the bases. So, and then I think what we ended up doing is picking out of a hat. And I think that, to be fair, that was a very nice process, because when we were all the 5 of us in the same group throughout the school, and obviously at that stage there is no seniority or any way of distinguishing who's going to be prioritized over somebody else. So I think that was a fair process. I'll be fair, it changed my life. Obviously, I would have picked. I still remember quite often. I'm like, if I had picked another paper, what would have my life been? Because
I know life would have been so different, huh?
What were the choices then? Do you remember?
I think we had 2 options of Edinburgh and 3 options of Gatwick.
Oh, okay.
So we, to be honest, we weren't even expecting it. So that we were in ground school of our type rating, and was it the head of training or someone like that just came in and was like, stopped us mid learning. I don't know what we were learning, probably the fuel system or something, and just said, okay guys, I've got your bases allocation. So there's 2 Edinburgh, 3 Gatwick. I need, I don't know, half an hour, and let us know where you want to go.
Yeah.
We're like, huh?
Wow.
Just really busy learning the systems and stuff, which was really intense. Safe, and we're like,
oh gosh.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
So the instructor was like, maybe we should have a half an hour break.
Oh good.
Oh man. But we were like, okay, so let's just all go around the room and talk about where we want to be and why. We thought, I don't know, maybe someone was going to explain some really good reason why, we'd say, oh, okay, you have it and not me. Because I think all of us wanted Gatwick. I think that was the thing.
In all fairness, I think everyone wanted to be based in Gatwick. And it's so funny, I forgot that bit, but we had a bit of a debate as to, you had to sell yourself.
Oh, wow.
Why you would be better based in Gatwick.
Yeah, it was like, it was like Dragon's Den, like...
Oh, God.
But
maybe that was the best way to do it. Just half an hour, choose, and then it's done.
You know what? I always think it was funny because I've said this to a few people, like when we're in the cruise and stuff, and we're chatting about stuff. It's like the 2 guys that got Edinburgh, who when they picked it, they were like, "Oh my gosh, I've got to move my life to Edinburgh. It's going to be," they were almost having a midlife crisis or a beginning of life crisis, maybe. They were like, as soon as we've had enough time in the company and I'm allowed to put my name on the transfer list, I'm going to transfer down to London because that's where my family is. That's where I want to be. They said, the next thing I heard, they had houses up there. They bought. They were living there forever. Edinburgh was the best thing.
There you go. It changes.
Yeah, absolutely. They both. I think one of them moved recently. Well, more a year or 2 years ago, but after like 6 or 7 years, the other one is still there wondering if he should move or not. So I'm like, it turned out not too bad.
But that's so
I don't
good.
feel that bad anymore.
You almost have to go with the mindset that you're going to make the most of wherever you're going to be. Yes, it might not be your first choice, but certainly within my company, our company entity, there is the options to move around. So yeah, you might be based somewhere for 2-3 years. If you can, try and make the most of that, and then you can be based wherever you want to be for the rest of your career, or whenever. So no, that's good that they enjoyed it and that they're able to stay there for so long. Why not?
I was just like, it's that was one of the opportunity for us as well to have so many bases in our current airline. I think we've got this model where there are many bases of different sizes. So obviously the bigger the base, so usually it's just linked to airplanes. So the more airplanes, the more crews, the more opportunity you could have. And I think Aaron and I, we ended up being lucky in being based in the biggest base. And that gave me at least very, very many opportunities, a lot of opportunities. And I really enjoyed, went into training, went to the safety world out of there.
That's true.
Now being in a smaller base, I think it's not something I would have been able to do if I had moved straight away in a smaller base.
Yeah, that's true.
So, and
I think even in terms of like training, now when they're offering training roles, it's mainly for London-based airports. So unfortunately, if you're based in another airport, you might not have the same opportunities. So the pros and cons for like in so many other ways other than just, are you near your family or not,
And I think that's a drawback of having many bases. I think if you've got a system in an airline where you've got only one big base, well, the opportunities are there for everyone to grab. Whereas if you're in an airline where you've got a lot of bases, yes, you can travel, so that's a positive. And you can discover many places and being based in different countries. But the negative is that a bit that there could be some limitations by being in a smaller base.
Yeah, that's true.
Or advantages as well. You get to know people. Now I go to work, I know a few people, and I'm like, whoa, that was not the case before. Before I would do my day, and that would be it. And now I'm like, oh, how are you doing? How is your kids doing? What have you been up to? And that's pro and cons.
That's true.
Yeah, no, it's true. I seem to remember, like, I was at Gatwick for 3 years and knew very few people. You'd fly with someone maybe once every maybe 2 years. And I did, I think, 5 or 6 months. I was based in Southend, and they only had 4 aircraft. So comparing it to Gatwick, that had 70 plus, just 4 aircraft. And within like 2 months, I pretty much knew all the pilots, or at least all the captains.
Yeah, it's true.
To the point where I'm on the way to work. I'm like, oh, I'm flying with Jeff today or something. Just like, oh, let me message him. I may be 5 minutes late, and he'd message, don't worry about it. Just get here when you can. No stress.
No, that's so nice.
Yeah, very sure.
Because I've been at Gatwick for almost 14 years, and I can probably count on, maybe one hand, people that I would actually see outside of work. Which, when you think about, you've been in the same base. Like, if I'd been in an office for 14 years and I've only got 3 friends, that's quite sad. But that's just the nature.
You're very sad.
Maybe that says more about me, but that's fine. But that's just the nature of working in a place where every day, just different people. And like Aaron said, I mean, we were lucky that we flew just by chance 2 days in a row together. Just by chance. And that we actually got on,
Yeah.
So that was quite good. Whereas some people, 2 days in a row, you're like, oh gosh, do I have to fly with this person again? But
that's true. That's true.
No,
and again, when you have a small base, it's great when you can fly with great people like regularly. But then if you had that one odd duck that you don't like flying with, it's like, oh, him again, or her again. Like, it's gonna be a long day.
I think as well that's where your support system and who you've got with in your everyday life matters a lot as well, because when I speak with a lot of my colleagues now outside this big base where we used to be based, all 3 of us, they're like, oh, you liked it there? I was like, yeah, I really loved it. But when I started chatting with them, they were like, yeah, I felt alone. There was no one. I didn't really like that and this. And I was like, oh, true. I didn't know that because I had my wife with me. We had our dog. We were like, I had you guys as well, so we had a few friends as well. But I could understand for someone who comes for work in this place, because that's what we do. We come to a place to be able to work out of it, compared to other jobs. And they were saying, I never really knew anyone. It was very hard to make friends because it's so big and people do not maybe make that much effort to get to know each other, because they know that the next day they're not going to see them again for at least a year or 2 years. So it can be quite lonely a big bit.
That's true, actually.
It's true. And I think like coming into the industry, you have to appreciate that, it's not like another job where you can say, okay, I do architecture. Let me find a job in London because I live in London. I'll find an architecture job. It's, okay, I'm a pilot. I want to find a job. Firstly, what company do I want to work for? And then it's almost like I've got to see where their bases are and where I could be based. And you could be anywhere around the world, really, depending on the company that you choose or the company that chooses you. So it's really not, it's not the same as, oh, I just want to fly or I just want to work out of this one place. It really could be anywhere. So I think you have to appreciate that coming into the industry, that could be the case. You may have to move away from family, away from friends, if this is the path that you want to choose.
And I think it gets better as well. So what I mean by that is when you start in the industry, you kind of have to take wherever it is going to be.
Yeah, because you want that first job.
Some places have been. You need that experience, and then maybe 10, 15, 20 years in, once you've had your experience and have a bit more in your back pocket in experience and knowledge, then generally you can be a bit more picky in locations. I personally found, and that's fortunately it's not really how you like it, but that's something you have to go.
And how did you feel about moving base? I mean, you've moved base a couple of times and not having that. Yeah, you went with your wife, but not having that support network of your friends or your family nearby. And how did you go about then rebuilding your like little network or your, network of friends?
I mean, for me, it was easier because I play a lot of basketball. So basketball connected me wherever I went. I always managed to find, a friends group because of, places where I was playing basketball. I always managed to kind of reconnect with people that I'd either played against before or just knew from the kind of basketball world. But yeah, I mean, it's as well, I would say it's easier because I've lived away from home since I was at college. Sure. So a lot of my family live in the southeast of the UK. So the closest base since I've been flying was when I was in Southend for a few months. Which was great. I could go and see my family relatively easy. It was like just over an hour away. London was a bit further, so like 2 hours away. And then I did move to Manchester, which was, a good 4 hours away. I think it really just depends. You move away from your family. I think you have to realize why and how much you really see them. A lot of people really have that big support network from their family. They're used to being around their family all the time, every other day, seeing either their parents or their brothers, sisters. For me, me and my parents, we catch up a lot, either on the phone or on Skype or something. We'll play Mario Kart and stuff like that. So, online. So yeah, I think it really depends on your kind of family dynamic. Similarly now I'm in the Middle East, like there's a lot of people that will come to the Middle East or, move to a different country with their wives, kids, and so on. And they may absolutely love the job themselves. They love flying from a different country, but their family hates it because maybe they're away from their support system as well. So there's been, been a lot of people that have come over as the pilot. They love their job and they love what they're doing and everything, but it's the family that doesn't really love being in the country that they are, and they just miss being home. So they end up actually going back. So I think, once you're in a company, if you're looking to move to a different company or move to a different base, especially if you have a family, it's not just a singular decision. It's quite a big decision to have to make. And you just have to kind of weigh up all the options and see what's best for you. And sometimes that means, okay, let's just give it a go. Maybe it's going to be for a year, 2 years, 3 years. If we don't like it, then we'll work something else out.
That's true. I think we've spoken about before, like when you're getting into aviation, how working on stuff outside of aviation that can also help with your like interview practice or your like interviews or leadership, teamwork skills. But then like for yourself, Aaron, having basketball on the side has also helped making relocating a little bit easier, and just having that network of friends that hopefully friends of friends then also become your wife's friends. And then you've got a circle of friends outside of work or whatever. And I think also personality-wise, you're pretty chilled, flexible, kind of easy, go with the flow.
Very cool guy.
You're a very cool guy. Yeah. Let's just say, fine. You're a very cool guy. All right, I said it. But then that does make it easier. And I think hopefully Felicia's found a group of friends away from your friends, so that when you're working or when you're in, Bangkok for 3 days, she's not just at home, like finish work and then she's just staring at the wall or something, She's got her own social circle.
Yeah, no, and I feel honestly, since we've been in the Middle East, like her social circle has grown a lot more, which is great. Because like you say, when I'm away, and especially because I'm away for longer periods of time, it's nice to know, okay, you've got this friend group here as well that can support. And it could be lonely, especially when you're not from a country and you're in a new country, and all your friends live in completely different countries, other side of the world. It's like, okay, it's pretty lonely unless you have someone that you could just call it and just at least round the corner or something.
That's it. And it's probably those small things, do you want to come round for a cup of tea? Do you want to come round and, we just watch a film together? Not always a big event or something, just those small things to catch up.
Yeah, no, it's true. And Anthony, you must have kind of seen that as well, right? Because even during training, you were here. Maud wasn't here at the time, or wasn't in the UK at the time.
No.
And then your family was in France.
When I think about it, obviously having to go to the UK for my training, at that stage, I was 21, 22, and so naive, it was quite easy. Yeah, just go there and it's my training. You had to move what? I think I did the first move was maybe a big bag and then another, a backpack. And that was it, I was happy. I had everything I needed. That was my life, That was, I had a phone, I had a wallet, and, that was it, an ID, and that was all I needed. And then now, even just moving house from the same base, but just moving it, 40 minutes away, I need a truck to move my stuff away, like a big van just to move my things away. And it's like, wow, it's been a bit more complex than it used to be 10 years ago. But So changing bases, I think, has become a bit more complex for us at the moment, because we've now got one little child, and obviously you get more stuff, and it's a question of the partner. What is the partner doing as well if you are moving? So. But no, generally you move for reasons which are either so you change company, you become a captain or not, or you just want to try another base, and that's what I did. I did moving from the UK back to France. So yeah, and I enjoyed being able to now have my family closer. Maybe not exactly where I live, but my family is closer, and my wife's family is even closer. So we do have that support system. That is definitely a big help when we're getting children. So
yeah. And I guess it changes from company to company, but I know at one point with the whole Brexit thing that it really affected what kind of license you had with what base you could move to. So like if you had a UK license, you could only move to a UK base, and vice versa, right? If you had an EASA license, you could only move to a European base. Is that still the case, or is there like ways around it? Or
I think it's still very much the case. Also, I think that was one of those things when it happens. You had to make a choice. Would you be willing to change your license or not? It's always a big thing. I think you had to do that as well when you change base. So sometimes, you got to know that changing your license state is always quite complex if you're doing it on your own. If you've got the support of an airline, usually it's easier because they know the processes and generally they're quite used to this process. But if you're doing it on your own, it's very complex. You run the risk of having non-license for a little while it's in the transfer process and so on.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's always been quite a sticky point in making sure you've got the right to live and work in the country as well. So that's definitely things you need to do your research on before applying to an airline or thinking about moving to a different airline.
Yeah.
I guess I'm even thinking about doing your pilot license, right? Because if you were to go through pilot training in the UK, would that really limit you in where you could fly? You can only fly from the UK.
That's actually a good point.
These days, yes.
That's actually a good point.
I think well, comparing it to moving into Europe, it'd be a bit harder, but then it depends. When you get to some airlines do not have enough pilots where in their current country, so they will do everything they can to attract the pilots, even change the licenses. They will sponsor you, they will make they pay for your moves and so on. Whereas other airlines, they have enough pilots in their pool, so they're like, well, we're not going to pay for you to come and so on. We're not going to give you extra money because we have got enough candidates already. And I think depends really what sort of airlines you're looking. So that's really, and I mean, this info you can pretty easily find it online. You have a bit of a look and see if the airline is offering a big package for you to move to the country, to your new base, and usually that means they need to attract more pilots into the country. They haven't got enough applicants on the same ground. But generally, if the airlines is not willing to do many efforts or already restricting, some airlines are restricting it to nationals of the country to join.
That's true.
Which is quite a big restriction. And in that case, it means they generally have enough supply in their own market to give.
But something to think about, I suppose, and like the differences between a UK and EASA license in terms of what you actually do for the license and flying is probably hard, like probably not even, I don't even know what the differences would be, but your examiner needs to have the UK license to be authorised to sign you. Your examiner needs to be EASA to be able to sign you off. You might have to do an additional test just to satisfy the EASA rules or the UK rules, but I think the flying test is the same. It just depends who examines you. So it's not, and obviously you have to pay. You're gonna have to pay someone's the money somewhere. But yeah, I suppose something to think about is if you have the right, like you said, Anthony, if you have the right to work in the UK or the right to work in the EU, you can interchange your license. It will just take a little bit of admin, a little bit of payment. You'll have to do a sim assessment. And I think so. It's not impossible.
And you can keep two going at the same time.
Yeah,
right?
You can keep both going at the same time. I know some examiners that are UK and EASA, and people like to keep their options open. Like you said, depending on where you want to be, where you want to be based, or just keep your options open for the future.
But I think it's fair to say as well that generally there is no easier country. So I was just thinking with what you were saying. You could end up going into one country because it's easier to get the license. I don't think that would be true. To think that way, I think it's generally the same. So it's just a question of having a think in advance. Picture yourself into which airlines, make a list, and try to see if there is maybe a common license type they would like, and take it from there. Yeah. Go and see the schools, ask them what licenses they will provide you with at the end of the training, and then see if that's acceptable to the airline of your choice.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that makes sense. And fun fact, did you know FAA licenses, once you have a type rating, so say you got a 320 type rating under FAA,
like the EUF,
you keep that for the whole time. Yeah, it never lapses. Your type rating never lapses off your license.
Oh.
Yeah, so even if you haven't done a revalidation for 20 years, you could just go in and do a revalidation sim, and then the type rating's valid again. You don't have to do like a full course again.
Because I think here, if you expire for more than 3 years, I think they have to get you to do the type rating. So that's get you to do that whole test again and the ins and outs of the aircraft systems, all of that. Oh, I don't think I'd want to do that again.
Nah, I'm thinking about revalidating my 320 one this year because it's coming up to 3 years in December. Okay. So I don't want to have to do it all again, just in case.
Just in case.
I think that's if we wanted to recap, so what are the reasons to change bases? Really, it's like getting your command. So that could be one of the reasons you want to change base, changing airlines if you want to try another airline. What else did we have? Changing aircraft type sometimes means as well you got to change base. If you want to fly a different aircraft type, that means it might not be available in your base as well. I think, and then just personal reasons you want to try somewhere else. That's generally the reasons. Or if a base closed, that's always a hard one. That's maybe the ones you don't really want to live in your life. Is if one of the bases closed, the airline decides they want to move the airplanes around. In that case, obviously, as we said, you got to follow the airplanes. So, and that's usually a bit more painful because everyone wants a different base and there might not be positions available as well.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, very good.
That makes sense.
Commuting.
So I guess, commuting, because that's another, I guess, option you could think about if you're thinking of coming into the industry. commuting's an option. Have either of you had to commute at all?
No.
I guess not really, right?
I know it wouldn't really be suiting my lifestyle anymore. I know it's not something I've seen colleagues do it, and I was like, I don't think I could be able to do it myself. It requires a level of organizations and flexibility, which I simply do not have.
I remember I flew to Rome. This is like years ago. Flew to Rome, and there was a captain that got on board in Rome. He was Rome based, but he lived in Manchester, but there weren't any direct flights. So he had to go Rome to Gatwick, Gatwick to Manchester, then he was home, and then to get back to Rome, do the same return journey. And I thought, you know what, that's so much time out of your days off. And I don't know what his reasons were for not moving the family over, they didn't want to come or whatever, but yeah, it can really add to really take away from your days off and your downtime, you know, spending extra time on the flight. If you don't get a seat on the flight, then you don't get to see your family. You know, so I thought, that's not for me. It's not for me.
I think you need the right conditions to be able to do it as well. I think some airlines do offer a better package for commuters because, again, they want to attract some pilots, so they offer some sort of commuting contract, I think they call it, where they give you more days off in a row and you're working more days on in a row as well to be able to have a bigger block to be able to move, because I think the longer your period of days off, the more you have got time to actually just go home and spend time with your family.
Yeah, true. I just flew with a guy actually that used to work for Norwegian, and so his kind of base was Bangkok, but he was living in London, and he had a London living contract. So he would start all of his days from London and do the London Bangkok, and then do a few different flights from Bangkok, and then his final flight of the block would be from Bangkok back to London again, and then he would have his set, I don't know, 5 days off or whatever it was.
That's quite a good way to do it. If the airline can
so there's them kind of options. I don't know, there's a few captains I've flown with who commute really long distances, like from the Middle East back to the UK or back to somewhere in Europe, and you know, we land from like a, I don't know, trip to Australia, Sydney or something, and they're like, yeah, hopefully we land at this time, so I've got to go and check in for my next flight, and I'm just going to go straight back home. And I'm just like, so yeah, I'll be home for like a day and a half or 2 days, and then I'll fly back because I've got another flight to, I don't know.
God.
Just like, this is a lot. This is a lot.
Oh, yeah. All those things to weigh up. If that might just be the best option for them at the time. It sounds a lot to me, but...
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so literally after every flight, jumping on another flight to go home, and then...
You need that first class seat,
2 days
and
off.
You can just get your pyjamas on, sleep, wake me up when we get there.
True. True.
Don't put me in a jump seat.
Maybe that works. Yeah, maybe that works.
Yeah, exactly. It depends how you commute as well. Huh? If you have to drive as well, it can be quite dangerous. I know some people, live further away from the airport, just having to drive back after long days is harder than potentially doing, 3, 4, 5 hours on a plane first class with everything. So
yeah, true. Yeah. No, that is true. No, I mean, even when I was in Southend for a while, I was kind of driving back to South London. And with the traffic and everything, sometimes it'd take me like an hour and a half, 2 hours. And after a long day, it's a tough drive. It's a tough drive.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's why as well, some airlines, I know ours, for example, offers like after, I think it's 13 or 14 hours duty, you could request if you feel like it an hotel as well, because they know, people might not live just close to the airport. So they might, so that avoids any accidents on the road.
That's true.
So there are,
that's true.
There are some mitigations as well. But I think what we did
is free as well.
I think there is a threshold as to how many hours you need to work before this option becomes available. But I think it is an option.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
But I never used it. I considered it once, but generally I know myself. I don't quite sleep well in hotels as good as at home, so I'd rather start driving, stop, make a nap, and then finish the rest of the drive if required. But I was lucky. I always lived about 40 minutes was the maximum I lived from the airport, so that's feasible.
No, it's a good option to have, though. Just in case you get caught up in one of those like terrible delays and your day is just like 6 hours longer than it than you're expecting. It's always good to have that option. So thought process for somebody that's thinking about moving a base, but they're not quite sure, a little bit hesitant to move, because I know both of you, Anthony, I'd say you've more had to move because that's, you moved from France to the UK and then, try to get back. Aaron, it's more of a personal choice from you. But I suppose in both scenarios, if let's say I was desperate to move, and then I wasn't sure how it would work, what do you do about a phone contract? What do I do about a bank account? Those kind of things. What advice would you give somebody in that kind of situation? Anthony, I'll start with you, maybe.
Yeah, I think if you're naive and you think it's easy, please keep that thinking, because that is the easiest. That's the one I had when I started, where I was like, oh, it's that easy. I just go and then, it was lovely because I went there. It wasn't really a big subject on my mind. I did, and I followed my dreams. That was really easy. Whereas now, having done it once to the UK and then once outside the UK, and even now just moving from one place around the airport to another place, you realize your life becomes more complex. You've got more things you need to, I still forward, my mails now from when I used to live in the UK, because I don't really know if I've changed all the addresses just in case. And all those little things, you're like, wow, it becomes more complex as your life, changes and you do more things. But what we always ended up doing with my wife is a pro and con list, and we would just revisit, a big piece of paper,
nice.
And we'll be like, okay. And it's funny because sometimes I went back and saw that list that we started maybe 2-3 years before we actually decided to move, and we're like, nothing is. We didn't really add any further lines onto this list, but the items on the list took more importance. So, for example, family for me was already on the list for moving to Nice. But over time, that item became more important, and it started outweighing, the other items in the current column, to a point where I was like, okay, now I think it's a time to move and try something else. So we are quite a fan of this, and that worked out quite nice for us. So yeah, do a pro and con list. At least you put your ideas straight, and you realize, because sometimes you think about it, and then when you start doing your list, and you're like, actually, it's only 2 reasons why I really want to move. And then you're like, is it really worth or not? And so top tip.
And maybe what you're willing to compromise on. And if something's making you a little bit apprehensive or nervous, you can think about ways to kind of mitigate that, avoid that, make it work for you. Yeah, that's true. That's a good way to do it. But having it on a piece of paper, then both of you can see what's important to you, what's not so important, and kind of come up with your decision that way.
Yeah, and I think what we did as well, or what I did, is when I was living in, let's say, place A, when I was thinking about moving, I also did a list of all the things I still wanted to do in place A, because I found out myself that I was like, I've kind of done everything I wanted to do in this place, and I'm like, okay, we could do this, but I've already done it. I could do this, but I've already done it as well. There's nothing I really wanted to do anymore, experience in place A. So I was like, okay, maybe slowly it's time to, give it a go somewhere else and start this process again.
That's a good way to do it as well. Yeah. So maybe naturally you've come to the end of your time in wherever. So now is a good opportunity to move. Yeah.
Yeah, you tried everything. You're like, I'd like to change, and that just makes you realize you've tried everything you really want to.
Oh, that's really interesting. Yeah.
Aaron,
what about you? How did you decide?
You didn't make a pro and con list, did you?
No.
I think the pound sign's at the top of the list, yeah?
Nah. You know what? We did make a bit of a pros and cons list. I wouldn't say it probably wasn't as, Anthony still got his and they kind of like revisited it and stuff. But at the time when we thought of moving out of the UK, there was definitely a pro and cons list. And I also was lucky enough to have an offer at another company as well. So it was like a pros and cons of moving to this company or that company. But I would say, like, if you're moving base, whether it's internally or externally, try and get as much information from people in the base as possible, and try and exhaust the list of things. So when I moved in the UK from London to Manchester, it was, for us, the big reason was London was getting so expensive. We really wanted to get on the property ladder. And there was a couple of other little reasons, but they were the two big reasons. So, well, okay, let's, see if I can get a transfer to Manchester and, see how it is. And lifestyle-wise, outside of work, it was amazing. I think Manchester was a great city. The people were nice. It was kind of a refreshing change. Although, my friends were now like 4 hours away, which was annoying. I didn't get to see them as much. But some of the logistics at work, I much preferred in Gatwick compared to in Manchester. So it being a smaller base, there was less opportunities to swap duties with other FOs. There was less options for leave because there's just less population of pilots, so there's less leave available, or less specific leave available, I would say. The route network, was fine, but the rosters, I ended up doing a lot more 4-sector days, whereas I felt when I was in Gatwick, a lot of the 4-sector days went to training flights. So I wasn't doing as many 4-sector days. And I did a lot more longer flights from Manchester. Like, I think I went to Turkey in the year I was in Manchester more than my 5 years in London.
Yeah.
Some of them, the longer flights, especially in London, in bigger bases where there's a lot more new pilots, especially in airlines that attract new trainee pilots, a lot of the new trainee pilots want to get their hours up very quickly. So they want to do the longer flights. Whereas when you're a more senior FO, maybe you don't actually want to do the longer flights. You just, let me just get the day done as quickly as possible, get home and do whatever I want to do. So, I thought in London, sometimes I could change a Turkey flight for just a quick Amsterdam and back, and I'm back home for breakfast, So all these different things, they actually add up. If you add them all together, you're like, okay, I'm actually working a lot more now than I was when I was in London, which you wouldn't have expected if you just kind of thought on the outset, oh, it's a smaller base, it must be much more chill,
That's true.
There's less than half the amount of aircraft there, I would definitely say, do as much research as you can, ask people that are already in the base, compare your roster to their roster and kind of get a full view before you make that leap and move.
It's like flying to a new airport. You want to know as much as you can before you actually in that position.
That's true.
Or going to this place. So you actually come and nothing is really to a surprise. I did the same for moving from the UK to France. I knew exactly maybe not, but about, how much money I would earn, what would be the contract, what are the perks that I would get or lose compared to what I used to have as well. And then you've got your whole picture and you really know what to expect. I think it's harder when you start somewhere and you don't really know fully what you're in. You can do it when you start in the industry, but after a while you really need to know in advance what you're going to get and how it's going to work out.
And I think it's never going to be a clear decision. It's not like they're both exactly the same, but one place you earn 20,000 more than the other. You might earn more, but then the other one you might get more days off, or lots of things to consider.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's always, most of the time there's someone else in your position. So when I was moving outside of the UK to the Middle East, there was a lot of people doing the same thing. So there's groups, there's online Facebook groups, there's WhatsApp groups that you can always find someone that's going through similar position or has gone through a similar process. So they've already worked out the best ways to do things. So, when you're moving to a new country, trying to open bank accounts, trying to, get a phone contract, all these type of things, there's normally other people that have done it, Luckily for me, the company I'm working for, they so good with onboarding that everything was pretty much sorted out. They just said, here's this bit of paper, just read through it and everything will be done.
Nice.
Like, it's very, very simple. But, not every company is the same. So you should definitely do your own due diligence in, all the logistical things, moving bank accounts, maybe moving money. How easy is it to move money if you want to move money back home, and a lot of different things.
That's true. Good point.
So in a nutshell, if you're just starting in the industry or just willing to start in the industry, I think is do your research first, try to find out which airline you want to work for, try to find their requirements as well, because usually they will tell you what sort of license they're looking for. And then from then onwards, start looking at the schools that can provide you such a license. I think that's the starting point. If you're in your flying school already and you'll get a license, then this is time for doing a bit of research as well. Which airline will you be able to join? What are their criteria? How can you get those criteria? It's the easiest way. Do you know anyone that has done it before, or anyone there that can help you out? I think. And then after you be flying, and then it's getting easier. I think. And you get used to the process, you'll have more information. I think, and then you'll be able to define better the process yourself. But I think when you're in the early stages in your career, I think that is what you need to do.
I think also being open to change, because something might change later on, something in your life might change. You might feel like, oh, maybe long haul's pulling me at the moment. Like I really want to try long haul. That means you have to move country, for example, or you might want to live in a different country anyway, fly the same aircraft. But I think those feelings of having to start again and, having to make new friends, I think that's always going to be there, whether you change bases whether you move from Gatwick to Luton, you probably want to have a network that's closer to you. But I think being open to change, if that's what you want to do, because you're going to have to maybe have a whole new circle of friends, go to a different gym, go to different restaurants. You're not going to be able to walk out of your house and go to your local pub or whatever. All of that's going to change, but it doesn't mean it's going to change for the worse. You might end up enjoying it so much better. And then you might want to do that for 10 years and think, you know what, I want to come back to my home comforts, come back to your home base, finish your career there. So there's options. I think we're lucky in this industry that there are options.
I think it needs to suit you. That's right. It needs to suit your needs, not the one of your friends, not the one of somebody else or your families or anything else. It needs to suit you. That I think is the biggest point I always took away, because quite often I see other people making choices and I'm like, it's not really what you want. You still have to do it. And I think that's when it becomes a bit harder as well. And it's harder to live and you get a bit more miserable every day if you're not really somewhere you want to be. I know sometimes you're stuck, but generally there is a way of changing a little bit once the industry is growing.
Yeah.
And people always have stories about, oh no, I wouldn't go over there because my best friend's husband's wife, she flies for them and she said this. And you're like, okay, let me go and see for myself, or let me speak to a couple of different people that I really trust, or people that are similar, like-minded to me, then I can make that decision. And you're not going to know 100% until you do it yourself. Yeah. But if you listen to everyone else, oh no, I don't want to fly with this person because this and this, and then you fly with them and you think, oh, that was actually fine, so make your decision for yourself.
And I think a big thing as well to take away is that if you're just coming into the industry, don't expect too much, don't expect that you want to have this specific base, East Midlands or something, that you're going to get it, you have to, it's kind of you have to do your time first. If you get the base that you want, amazing, but don't walk in thinking that you're definitely going to get exactly what you want. You have to do your time first. So, and treat it as an adventure,
100%.
Nice. I think we did a good job with moving bases or new bases. Pretty cool. So, quickly, pilot perspectives video. I've got a good little video for you guys to watch. Don't know if you've seen it. I think it happened just over a month ago. Okay. I'll start it playing and then I will explain as it's going. So this is a test flight. I think it was about a month ago, end of January, from Boom Supersonic. I don't know if you guys have heard of Boom Supersonic before.
Yeah, briefly. I think they were similar to the Concorde model, if I remember well.
Yeah, exactly. So they're basically trying to revive supersonic flight for passengers. So they just did their first testing live going supersonic. So you can see at the bottom of the corner, bottom of the screen, they just went over Mach 1. So it's their very first test that they actually went over Mach 1, faster than the speed of sound. And I think it's kind of their first big step into supersonic flight coming back after 50 plus years, I think. So I think the guy actually does explain a little bit. I'll turn the volume up so you can hear. He explains it a little bit.
Today was just a huge day. This is the first civilian supersonic flight in 22 years. The first time a civil supersonic jet built in America has broken the sound barrier. And also the first time a civil supersonic jet has been built outside of a nation state. We were a little disappointed there was no boom. In today's flight conditions, we only thought there was about a 10% chance that there was an audible boom, and there was a lot of cheering, but no sonic boom. Today we have one of the silliest rules in the world, which is you can't fly supersonic over land, no matter how quiet the airplane is. And so we're picking up where Concorde left off. Initially, we'll fly right under the speed of sound over land, which is still 20% faster than a Boeing or Airbus. And over the water, we'll open up the throttles and go twice as fast. And that means that already there are about 600 routes around the planet that will benefit from big speed ups. The longest flights in the world tend to be the ones that are transoceanic. So that's where we're starting. I don't think there's any question of whether passengers want faster flights. I don't know a single one who wants to spend more time on an airplane, provided that the flight is affordable and safe and convenient and comfortable. And I don't, and the airlines have spoken with their money that they want supersonic flights because half a century after Concorde, we have the technology not just to go fast, but to do it in a way that's economically viable, it's profitable. And really, the question remaining was, can we do it? And we've known theoretically, inside the company for a long time we could, and today I think we've shown the world we can. And now it's time. Today we'll celebrate. Tomorrow we get back to work. It's time to scale up, and to go build the version that you and I get to fly on.
Cool.
Exciting.
That's huge.
So, yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see what they can do.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're planned for 2029, I believe, to actually have commercial service. And I believe United Airlines and American Airlines have ordered like 130 already.
No way.
Wow.
Whoa. Wow. When did you say 20?
Yeah.
29?
2029. Yeah.
That's like 4 years away. That's not long. Wow.
Yeah. Quick.
I didn't know that they couldn't fly supersonic over land. I didn't realize.
I didn't know that either.
No. Okay.
I didn't realize that was a restriction.
No. Wow. God.
Do you think you would you have flown on Concorde?
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
Definitely, if you get the opportunity, definitely. So that would have been so cool. Yeah.
I think the thing for me, I don't know if you've ever been in one, but it seems so cramped.
Yeah, that's true.
So
that's what I thought about this one.
Is it Duxford?
Yeah.
Did we go in the one at Duxford, Anthony?
Yeah. Yeah, that was Duxford.
Wow. Yeah,
it
tiny.
Was so cramped.
Because they've got an Air France one in Paris, don't they, in the airport? So when you taxi around, you can see it there. Wow. Yeah, that's going to be tiny.
Yeah.
Especially, I mean, compared to a 380 flight deck. When you've got all your space, all of your room.
No comparison.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, that would be cool. That'd be really cool. So yeah, let's see. We'll keep an eye on that one.
Yeah, for sure. It was interesting to see as well how many people were actually behind the scene. So you see as a plane with a pilot inside, but actually there was a whole lot of team. And I think that even when you take the plane, you'll see maybe the cabin crew and the pilots, but actually there's a lot of people working behind the scene just for the plane to depart. Yeah. The same civilian and military world, I'm sure as well.
100%.
No, it's just.
Yeah, no, it's so true. It's so true.
If you end up not really going down the route of being a pilot, I think there are different jobs in the industry, and if the industry passionates you, just carry on, do your research, and you'll find maybe something that is not quite pilot, but that you might still really enjoy.
So true. Because imagine being involved in a project like this. Imagine when Concorde takes off with its first civilian passengers, and you can say, you've been a part of that in some way. Very exciting.
That's true.
Because this company will have lawyers, they will have people purely looking at risk, accountants, and so on that are still working for the industry, just not being pilot, for example, or a cabin crew.
Yeah.
So
No, good point.
Or engineers, or I mean, and you never know. Then a pilot job may come down the line after that.
Yeah, true.
You know, me and Anthony trained with a guy who was an engineer at Airbus, and now he's flying an Airbus.
Oh, nice.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Nice.
So okay, cool. So before we get out of here, 2 quick questions from the Instagram. First question this episode is: I want to go to a flight school. Currently in year 10 of high school. Should I do an aviation related degree?
Ooh.
So I think it's a commonly asked question. In all fairness, I think personally my advice would be look at the industry, how it is performing at the moment. If there are lots of recruitments ongoing for pilots, I think you can afford to skip the degree without taking too much of a risk. If, however, the industry is, not doing very well, and, there are very little opportunities, if any, then in that case, I would recommend doing a degree, or even postponing potentially your plan by a few years, traveling the world, learning, your language, another language like English if you're not native English speaker, or, even finding a job slightly related to it, working in an airclub or something like that before going for the expensive studies, if that makes sense, and the degree.
Yeah.
That would be my top tip.
I would suggest find a couple of people on LinkedIn that have got an aviation degree that are pilots. Ask them, does it benefit me? Have you noticed a difference between yourself and others that don't have the degree? Going back, is this the route that you would still go down? Is it really going to benefit my career having that degree? And then ask people that haven't done it. I think, Anthony, I can't remember what you did. Did you do anything aviation related before?
I started a degree which was then linked as well with a pilot license. Yeah. And to be honest, I think I would ask myself as well, what's your end goal? Where do you see yourself? Do you see purely flying? In that case, the degree is maybe not so much required. But if you see yourself doing all the things next to the flying, as we just mentioned, there are plenty of other opportunities in the industry. Then in that case, do the degree, because quite often when you end up in senior positions, it's quite interesting to have the degree as well, and have that extra little bit of knowledge of how the airline works, for example, or the industry works, not just how to pilot the plane. So that would be a little bit my second top tip as well.
That's true, yeah.
And the third one would be have a look at and really understand what sort of degree it is you're looking to do, because there are different types of degrees, different, some are very light and it's just to give you a degree, and then some are done, find out which airline or which school does the best degree in aviation, which is the one that is the most well known in the country, and then try to do this one if you really want to do a degree that adds value.
I'd say if you do the degree, it doesn't mean you're guaranteed a job, and if you don't do the degree, it also doesn't mean you're guaranteed the job. So look at what you want to do in that time. Could you spend your time being as productive learning about the aviation industry in a different way? Like you said, Anthony, could you have a job that's kind of aviation related, so you're not spending the money or maybe even tied into a degree for 3-4 years, but you're still getting industry knowledge, experience, and like we've always talked about, improving your workload management, teamwork, those kind of things. Is that something that you can see yourself doing within the degree, or can you do it outside of the degree as well? I think for me, I didn't do an aviation degree. I don't feel like it's held me back. But then there's, definitely benefits to having it. I don't know what the exact subject topics are. I don't know, is that helpful?
Yeah.
It's kind of a bit of both.
Yeah,
what
I think it is.
Moving forwards.
Yeah, I think like if aviation is your true passion and you can't see yourself doing anything other than aviation as a general rule, then an aviation related degree could be a good option. If you do want to become a pilot, then maybe think about an aviation degree that also gives you flight training, because I know there is a few out there, and that could help the funding and actually getting you some flight training. if you have other interests outside of aviation, like you said, you don't have to do an aviation-related degree or a degree at all to become a pilot. So maybe have a look at something else. Maybe do a different degree, which can also give you some more insight into a different industry, just in case, the pilot job doesn't come straight away, or maybe there's a downturn in the industry and they're not recruiting pilots. You have something else to fall back on, and everything is not solely aviation related. I feel like we're really sitting on a good fence on the answer to this question. Yeah. But I honestly, I think it really depends on you. If you're desperate to do a degree, then it's really deciding whether it's going to be aviation related or non-aviation related. And if you're still kind of not really sure about the degree, I think is, as you said, get some information from both. Maybe do a gap year or a couple of years of travel and learn a little bit more.
Yeah, I think don't do the degree just to be able to say you've done the degree. I think look into it. Would you like to sit back on the school for 2-3 years, not earning any money, not really, moving towards your pilot's dream? Is that really something you want to do?
Yeah,
exactly, more debt. But if there is another subject and the industry is not recruiting pilots at the moment, why not do something else? For example, it's very rare to find a profile of, for example, a lawyer that is also a pilot, because it's super, super technical. But actually, I think you can make some good money if you've got both 100%. Capabilities, which is really, really interesting as well. So if that's something that you would like. And I think at the same time, if you don't do the degree, I think you can still, try to find a job near an airplane, and that will bring you a lot of contacts, which are maybe worth more than your degree in the long term or short term. That would be my thoughts on it.
Cool.
Very good.
So second question from Devon: how many days off do you get each month?
So my pattern, I work 13 days out of 28, so I get 15 days off a month. Yeah, that's easy for me, and that's every month. Same. Yeah.
Nice.
Me, it's between 8 and 10, so I'm very little in terms of days off. But they're usually Saturday and Sunday, which is quite rare.
I should say I'm 75%, so that's why I get more. I think add to you're still full time, yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. Right, but you also have office duties as well, right? So you're
it's not purely flying. Yeah, it's a mix.
You haven't got as many restrictions as maybe a full flying roster.
No, absolutely not.
Right. So for me, it's between 10 and 18. It really depends. It really depends. But that's not counting days off. Like down route isn't a day off. So having a day somewhere wouldn't be a day off.
Yeah, that's something, a concept when you compare it to other industry. Like sometimes you can be on standby at home. So technically working, but you're not doing you're resting and making sure you be ready. But, you're still at home and you can pretty much do whatever you want as long as you're next to the phone and it's still a working day.
Sure.
So that's also something to take into account.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think, we as an industry, we do get more days off than, like a 9 to 5, Monday to Friday.
But you're also working a bit longer on certain days compared to a 9 to 5. That's what I'm saying.
True.
Agreed. Yeah. So, yeah. Nice. Cool. So I think if you do have any questions, send it to us. Instagram, TikTok, at aimingpointuk. Or send us an email. We'd love to hear from you. aimingpointuk@gmail.com. So I think that pretty much wraps it up for this episode. Any last thoughts? Any last thoughts, guys? Any last wise words of wisdom?
It was lovely catching up with you guys,
really nice
and everyone listening or future pilots. This topic is really important. I think you'll find that after all the work-related stuff, this will be maybe from a personal life point of view, one of the most important topics we discussed today.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed today, and until next time.
See you later.
Yeah. Fly safe. Cheers.